Alrighty. So again, welcome everyone. Feel free if you'd like to put in the chat where you're joining us from. It's lovely to see some familiar names actually. A special hello to Mark, a former guest of mine who went to Galapagos. Yeah, so if you'd like to write in there, feel free. What we're also going to do is a question and answer session at the end, so you can ask Dana all the questions that you have. If you want to just put them there in the chat, I'll be monitoring it throughout the talk. And then at the end of the talk, we'll go through them all. So please go ahead there. There's still a few people joining in, and so I'm kind of distracted. My apologies, clicking admit here. But I'll go ahead and start now. So my name is Kelsey. I am part of CNH Tours, which is now CNH Tours and Galapagos Travel. We had the joy of acquiring CNH Travel Galapagos Travel this past summer, a company very similar to ours, but it was based in California. So decades of experience in Galapagos, but also going to other destinations. I've been with CNH Tours since 2018, and prior to that, I was living and working in Galapagos and working at the research station there. So my background is actually fundraising, but it's really exciting to now be in tourism and to combine conservation work with our tours as well, because that's a big part of it. So CNH Tours, we started to expand into other areas of the world. Some of them here you can see on your screens. The only reason we decide to expand into a different region and offer that to our guests is because we have someone who is an expert on our team. So either they've lived there for a long period of time or work there extensively. That is the only reason we're ever going to add a new destination to our offering. So some of them you can see here, the Okavango and Kalari. I'll talk a little bit about the woman who designed that. Easter Island is one of our new destinations as well, also known as Rapa Nui, off the coast of Chile and part of Chile. Tuscany, our newest add-on. So if ever you've wondered what it's like to spend time in an Italian villa, both in Tuscany we have that, and then Provence we have French villas that you can join the tour for. Brazil and the Pantanal. So that's again one of our newer destinations. I'll be leading our tour this September to the Pantanal to explore that region. There's Madagascar, a longer tour, I'm not gonna lie, I think too long for me at this point, but about 21 days, led by an absolute incredible gentleman that we actually know from Ecuador. He's what I like to call the David Attenborough of Ecuador. He was, anyways, I'll talk about him in a second, but all that to say, we have many different destinations. You're, of course, here tonight for the Arctic in particular, a special tour that we're now offering, but the Arctic and Antarctica are two new areas that we're very pleased to be able to offer because of our newest team member, Danna Walker, who I will mention a little bit later as well. We have different destinations in both polar regions. The Arctic, several destinations you can go to. Svalbard, we have various tour dates, so lots of options there. The Northwest Passage, we're of course going to be talking a little bit about that area tonight. Baffin Island, Greenland, Newfoundland and Labrador, somewhere that's my dream is to circumnavigate Newfoundland. And so luckily this is part of the tour we're talking about tonight as well. Antarctica, again, one of our newer destinations. There are various ways to see it. Some might want to go for an extensive trip, a grand tour, we're calling it, or perhaps you'd like to join our little expedition that's going in search of the emperor penguin. That's going to be led by the vet Dr. Christine Hoyt. And so lots of different options there. But again, the only reason we're ever offering these places is because of the experts that are either leading the tours or helped us design them. So here are some of them. There's, of course, Heather Blenkiron, co-founder and co-owner of CNH Tours. She has been leading some of our tours this year. She was in Easter Island earlier this year with her husband, Mark, also co-founder and co-owner of CNH Tours. Danna Walker, who is luckily joining us tonight to give this talk. She is a polar expert and will be leading some of our tours throughout the next few years. Richard Parsons, that's the gentleman that I like to call the David Attenborough of Ecuador. He was certified as a Galapagos naturalist guide in the 80s and then purchased a small plot of land on the mainland of Ecuador in the cloud forest and created a reserve, working with his neighbors to create a larger reserve, which is now known as a birder's paradise. So His expertise is in all things ecology and nature, and he actually is the one leading our tours in Madagascar. So he won't be doing very many more. So if Madagascar is a place of interest, I would highly recommend doing it sooner rather than later so that you could be led by him in particular. Like I said, I'm leading one of our tours to Brazil this September and Antarctica next year. Kathy is another new team member of ours. If you're going to be joining us in Antarctica or actually in Okavango as well, she'll be helping you with all the details. Josie is the main reason why we're continuing with Easter Island. She has family history in the islands, and she is leading our tours there. Her grandfather, I believe, oh, I get a little mixed up on the details because it's all new to me, but I believe her grandfather was one of the first archaeologists to work on Rapa Nui on Easter Island. So she has very strong family ties there, and we're delighted to be working with her now for those tours. Mark, of course, Heather's husband, he joins her on leading these tours sometimes too. Dr. Karen Ross is the main reason why we have not just a tour to the Okavango Delta region, but such a spectacular one. She's been called the champion of the Okavango by National Geographic. And through Mark's work with UNESCO, she is a connection that way, and she designed our trip there. So you're really getting the best of the best when you go on that particular tour because she has spent decades working there as a conservation biologist. And so we're delighted to be working with her. And like I mentioned before, Dr. Christine Hoyt is leading a tour to Antarctica to search for the emperor penguin, which I believe, as last we checked, there are still a few spaces on that departure. So feel free to contact us about that. But all this to say, we have lots of new destinations, but we're here tonight to listen to the expert Danna Walker, who is our Arctic specialist. She has 13 years now of expertise in the polar regions. And just by hearing her for the first minute or two, you're going to get a glimpse of her passion for it, which part of what we love. So what she's going to be talking about tonight is one of the regions she spent extensive time in, but these are some of the other places where she's worked in and spent quite a lot of time getting to know. And so if you travel with us, you're getting her knowledge and her expertise for all of your trip planning. And throughout the trip too, you're getting her support as well. So all that to say, we are delighted to have her on board on the team, and also just delighted to have her tonight to give this talk. So with that, I will pass it on to Danna.
Thanks so much, Kelsey. And thanks for joining us this afternoon or this evening for those of you that are in the East. I'm speaking to you from Whistler, BC. So this is where I live when I'm not out exploring the world's really most remote wild places. As Kelsey mentioned, for the last 13 years, I've had the incredible privilege of working directly with the polar regions. And it's been an experience that has really shaped my life and career. So I'm happy to be here. I want to take you on a virtual journey today from Iceland to Newfoundland via Greenland, Baffin Island, and the Torngat Mountains. And what makes this trip even more special is that it kind of blends Greenland with the Canadian Arctic. And those are two regions that are steeped in history, from ancient paths of the Vikings to the enduring traditions of the Inuit people. In this, sorry guys, I need to just scroll my screen here. This itinerary really weaves together the very places and stories that have inspired me most throughout my career. So it's one that I'm really excited to share. So let's get started here. Okay, so here's the map. You see a little bit of Greenland, a little bit of the Canadian Arctic. So the way we're going to start this is you're going to arrange your own flight from home to Reykjavik, Iceland. And you'll make your way to our adjoining hotel. It's about 45 minutes from the airport into downtown Reykjavik. Now we're still sorting out what hotel we're going to use, but we'll definitely keep you posted on that in case you want to spend some extra time in Iceland and book that hotel for an extra couple of nights. Now you might be thinking, what is there to do in Iceland? You're probably not thinking, you probably think of all the wonderful things there is there to do. But let's just start with a few highlights. So the Blue Lagoon, obviously, some soaking in the Blue Lagoon tubs, or you might just go off and find a hidden hot spring. Waterfall chasing, lots of waterfalls in Iceland. You can book tours, you can do them on your own. And then a lot of people love the Golden Circle Drive. So that includes the national parks, the geyser geothermal area, and one of the falls as well. So it's all encompassing and lots to do in Iceland. On day 2, we're going to catch our charter flight and we're going to fly to Kangerlussuaq, Greenland, where we board this expedition vessel. And this is the ship that's going to navigate us into these very, very remote places. It's the Ocean Explorer. It's really equipped with everything you could possibly need in a ship. It's got all the comforts, all the essentials. There's 138 guests on board and 105 staff and crew. So in my expert opinion, that is the perfect staff to guide ratio. It means you're getting well taken care of. It means all the experts on board are there to educate you. And 15 zodiacs, you want no more than 10 to 12 people in a zodiac. So it's perfect for what we want. We also want a bar and a lounge. We also want a library and the sauna and the gym and all those real creature comforts of home. So we want to feel like we're still on vacation, but we're enjoying that expedition style experience. Now, before we board the ship, what we do is we land in Kangerlussuaq, Greenland, and it's a remote settlement nestled deep within the 180-kilometer long fjord. So Kangerlussuaq is at the end of that deep fjord. It's located on the island's west coast. And the airport is a little bit unique. It has some interesting history. It was originally established as the Sonderstrom Air Base by the United States Army Air Force in World War II. So it's got some interesting history, and we bring the ship right into that fjord to meet our guests, but you will have to be getting in a Zodiac to make your way out to the ship because there's no pier here. So this is what you see the people are doing. They're getting all their life vests on and they're getting ready to jump in the Zodiac and head out to the ship. It's a very exciting time because you've just landed on the flight. It's very remote. You're bussed to this little dock and people are throwing life jackets at you and you see your ship in the bay, and it is just, it's incredible. So let me just click here. So we're going to head away out to Sisimiut, Greenland. This is a fascinating place. It has a unique mix of history and culture, and obviously Arctic beauty, as you can see. It's the second largest town in Greenland. There's no roads in or out. It has one of Greenland's best museums, so it showcases local culture and history, and it's open for our guests to enjoy. The town will often open the church as well when we're there. And if there's nothing happening in the church, depending on what day of the week we're there, it's open for us to go take a look. Sisimiut is also one of Greenland's most important fishing hubs. As we're carrying on our merry way, we're going to be seeing towering mountains, just pristine rivers and endless glaciers, incredibly deep fjords. In fact, one of the day's highlights this day is a journey along Eternity Fjord. And that fjord is something like 75 kilometers long, like 47 miles long, and then deep as well, 1,200 meters deep. So that alone is absolutely breathtaking. As we journey north to Ilulissat, we're going to be treated to more of Greenland's landscapes, but this time we're going to be starting to keep our eyes peeled for wildlife. We're going to be looking for muskox grazing on the hillside. With a bit of luck, we're going to spot whales, maybe even polar bear. And once in Ilulissat, we're going to have the opportunity to explore our first UNESCO World Heritage Site on this trip. And this is extraordinary. There's a newly opened ice fjord center here. So it offers a few insights into the glacier and the region's deep connection to the ice and the climate. And inside the ice center, they actually have this glass freezer box with glacier core samples inside, which is incredible to see the insides of a glacier. And you're free to explore here at your own pace. You can walk peacefully through the landscape, sit in and take in the surroundings. This fjord is one of the most active in the Northern Hemisphere. It produces a staggering number of glaciers that drift into the bay each year. And a short walk will take you right to the edge of the ice fjord. And you can witness these towering formations up close. There is the ice center I was talking about. So as you can see, it's very unique. The where you go down to see the icebergs in the bay and watch them calving off the glacier and cracking and popping and all sorts of noise and action down there. You go on the board, there's boardwalk all the way. So as you can see, it kind of gradually goes downhill. It's not that steep. So it takes about 20 minutes to go down, maybe 25, 30 minutes to come back up. I'm usually the one taking photographs the whole way, so maybe an hour for me. But it is really nice just to enjoy at your own pace and spend a few hours here. Now, as you wander through town in Ilulissat, you're going to also notice the presence of sled dogs, and they're a vital part of life and tradition in Ilulissat. And this town is also the birthplace of Nud Rasmussen. So he's a renowned world explorer. He's an anthropologist, and he was famous for crossing the Northwest Passage by dog sled during his fifth Thule expedition. And that took place, I think, early 1920s. But he really made history, and he deepened the world's understanding of Inuit culture along the way. And it's a very special place with a lot of history for that person alone, that explorer alone. Of course, if we want to learn more about the Northwest Passage, definitely I'm happy to entertain questions and stuff for Northwest Passage as well. It's a very iconic trip. Now, we're getting into the area of Greenland called Disco Bay, and approximately 15 species of whales frequently appear in Greenlandic waters. And that's the same with Arctic Canada, but only 3 of them remain there all year. And that's the beluga, the narwhal, and the bowhead. Certain species like blue whale and killer whale are very rare, but the other species are represented in large numbers. So everybody wants to get a glimpse of a narwhal. They're very elusive. They're very hard to spot. But we always hope for a shot like this. You're absolutely going to get that iconic whale fluke in some areas of Disco Bay. Now, I think this is a super boring slide, but there's so many stories behind this slide. So the geological effects here, and these are all kind of representing backdrops for that iconic whale fluke shot. So these are very iconic areas where you're going to see a lot of whales. You're going to have that iceberg in the background. This particular geological image was an area in Disco Bay that we talked about endlessly on the ship because of the formations of the tiny basalt columns created by volcanic activity. And of course, our geologist on the ship is there to answer any questions, and he also will love questions maybe he doesn't know as well, because then he has to find out. So we're all learning as well. Okay, so now we're going to cross Davis Strait, and this is a time to reflect and really learn. So I call it enrichment at sea. And while at sea, our team of polar experts, including the geologist, glaciologist, historians, all these wildlife specialists, they're at our beck and call. So we'll offer engaging presentations, and that's going to deepen our understanding of the Arctic region. And it's just a very welcome pause in our trip to be able to do this. And the sea days provide a valuable opportunity to relax, recharge, and reflect on the experiences so far. I often describe it to people as like when you were a kid and you played outside all day and you come in and you're exhausted and you sleep like a baby. This is what these trips are like. You're spending the days outdoors, and even when you're on the ship, you're out on the outer decks, and you welcome that pause. So whether you're attending a lecture or you're simply enjoying the views, it's the perfect balance of education and relaxation before the next adventure begins. Now, as we enter Canada, which is always a very soft spot for me, anytime I enter Canada by ship, it brings tears to my eyes. I'm so happy to be home in my home country. And I want to be on the lookout for seals and polar bears, walrus, and so many other majestic Arctic creatures. Um, the bird life, which is quite incredible. We'll always have an ornithologist on board. He's going to tell you all the birds that you know about, all the birds that you don't know about. So there's an education in itself right there. So we make our way into Canada, and we're going to go into a small hamlet in Canada to clear customs. And that is going to be the hamlet of Pangertung, Nunavut. And this is the gateway to the Iowituk National Park, and that's one of Canada's most dramatic wilderness parks. It's nestled on Baffin Island, and Pangertung is home to some towering fjords and glaciers, huge dramatic peaks. You might have heard of Mount Thor. That's located in the Iowituk Park. So set along the scenic Pangertung Fjord, the village offers these breathtaking views. And it's a very tranquil Arctic atmosphere. Nunavut means our land in Inuktitut language, and it stretches north of the Arctic Circle, and it covers 1.8 million square kilometers. And it's considered the homeland of the Inuit Canada. Pangerton Fjord merges with the Cumberland Sound, so it's really a stronghold of Inuit community, and it's an ideal place to learn about the Inuit culture. They also have finely crafted traditional art, especially textiles, like people will often purchase the Pang toque here. You could visit the print shop, the weaving shop. It's quite a special moment, this photo that I shared with my son several years ago when I landed in Pangerton for my first time. And the gateway to the Iowituk Park is behind us, and then the community is in front of us. There's rich culture in Pangertung. So this lantern that you see in front of this Inuit child is it's called a kulik in Inuktitut language. And what it is a soapstone basin. They put whale oil in it, and they dry Arctic cotton grass to use as the wick. And this lantern was originally used to heat the inside of an igloo or a snow hut. And they don't obviously use it for that anymore, but it's still a tradition. And often it was the women who were staying in to look after the children and doing the sewing and stuff and keeping the igloo warm. And so the women will pass this tradition on to their children. So this child has learned to manage the kulik, and she's quite proud of herself. It was a wonderful day for her. She was really happy to be part of a cultural presentation for us. So visitors here can explore cultural centers, meet local artists, and learn about Inuit traditions that have really shaped the region for generations. This is my favorite picture of all time. And sorry, it's a little bit fuzzy, but this is the town of Pangertung, and it is a gorgeous fall image with, when the tundra turns color and you see a dusting of snow on the peaks. And September is such a special time of year on Baffin Island. There's kind of this like urgency to preserve food for winter and this sort of hustle and bustle in the air. And we'll walk about with our hats and jackets all zipped up, and the locals are still flying around in their t-shirts enjoying the last of summer. So now we never want to leave this vast and beautiful place, but we must carry on our adventure, and we're going to head back to the ship and sail out on our next landing. So here's a map. You see Pangertung there deep in the fjord. You can see the glaciated area. That's the Iowituk National Park. And then you see Cape Mercy. So protecting the northern entrance to the Cumberland Sound is Cape Mercy, and it's an exposed headland that juts out into Davis Strait. So as the Baffin Bay middle ice recedes through the summer, The stretch of Baffin Coast from Cape Mercy up to Cape Dyer, it's a great place to look for polar bears. They're coming ashore there. So we're going to spend some time hopefully seeing some of our majestic Arctic creatures. Now we leave Baffin Island and Nunavut behind, and as much as we'd love to stay and explore the entire Northwest Passage, that's an entirely different trip. We can talk about that later. And we're heading into Nunatsiavut territory, and our first stop is the Torngats. And for a lot of people, this is what they've taken this trip for, is for the Torngats. So the Torngat Mountain National Park will really leave you awestruck. And within the 10,000 square kilometer national park that it was established in 2008, are Canada's highest mountains east of the Rockies. So the park is a wilderness landscape painting that is just comes to life. Breathtaking fjords, dramatic glacier formations, stunning landscapes, of course, the boreal woodlands and the wildlife. The park, it's located at the northern edge of the Nunatsiavut territory. And in 2005, that was recognized as homeland to the Labrador Inuit. And the Labrador Inuit operate under their own constitution and administration. And these lands have been home to the Nunatsiavut and their predecessors for over 7,500 years. Torngat in Inuktitut means place of spirits. Now, this really reflects the spiritual significance of the region to the Inuit communities. And even if you're not a spiritual person, I am not, you are going to feel something here that will stay with you forever. It's an incredible feeling. And as a national park, its obligation is to protect the boreal woodlands, the caribou, the black bear, the Labrador wolves, the red and the Arctic fox, polar bears. It's one of the only places you can see polar bears and black bears habituating together. So many more species of wildlife that I can't even think of. So opportunity to explore by guided hikes and Zodiac cruises. And if you've signed up for the kayaking program on this trip, you'll be able to do that here as well. So we're going to say goodbye to the northern spirits of the Torngat Mountains. And the next stop is going to be Nain, Labrador. And as you drift off to sleep tonight, you will dream of your time spent here. It will leave a lasting impression on you for the rest of your life. It's absolutely incredible. So this is the community of Nain, Labrador. Again, no roads in or out. I had the pleasure of being here once. I was visiting a friend that worked for Parks Canada at the time, and we landed on the little puddle jumper plane after a crazy snowstorm in early May. And it was a bright sunny day and landed on the dirt airstrip. We were picked up in a snowmobile. Our luggage was thrown into the Kamatuk, the wooden sled that the Inuit people tow behind their snowmobile for carrying their gear around. And we were taken to that big yellow building in the back there. And the main mode of transportation in this community in winter is by snowmobile. And it was one of the warmest and most welcoming communities I've been to. They have carefully crafted this beautiful cultural center near the bay. And for those people interested in geology, there is a labradorite mine here. Now, I went to it in early May. So I was able to snowmobile over the frozen sea ice to get to it. I guess it would be accessible by boat in summer. But beautiful labradorite mine, and they had actually crafted one of the elders centers at the time. The floor was all tiled with labradorite. So I wasn't here, that they'd only just started building the cultural center when I was here, but I'm 99% sure they have some labradorite features in the cultural center. So many wonderful things happening in a sleepy little northern town in this quaint little village. And here's another shot of that building while it was being rendered images where it was being built. And it's truly a work of art. It gets so few visitors a year. Nain is a very, very remote place. I think only one other ship goes in there. And we sail away from Nain, and we'll probably do a toast to the lovely locals we've met here and just celebrate how lucky we are to be embraced by such a lovely community in the Nunatsiavut territory. Our next stop is going to be Lanso Meadows, and that's going to be our second UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it's the only confirmed Norse or Viking settlement in North America. And we're going to join a guided tour and see where Norseman Ericsson and, who was son of Eric the Red, is believed to have founded the East Coast area, including what would later be known as Newfoundland. That was around 1000 AD. So going way, way back for that. And just think about those wooden longboats that transported the Vikings that 2000 kilometers or something from Greenland to Newfoundland, also back in 1000 AD. But you're going to have the chance to visit the archaeological remains here at the place where they landed in their homemade vessels. And you're going to explore the reconstructed sod huts, the Norse ruins throughout the historic site. Really proof that Vikings discovered North America 500 years before Christopher Columbus. Lanso Meadows is nothing short of fascinating. And you can see here, we are still amongst the icebergs. So way out in Iceberg Alley as they drift south. So we're still far enough north that we're seeing that. Now, we don't want to bring our trip to an abrupt end, but welcome to St. John's, Newfoundland, the continent's easternmost city. St. John's is historic, and it's framed by a dramatic coastal landscape. And it's also a bit of a cultural hub. You've got a blend here, Irish, English, Indigenous influences, and you're going to see that in the local food and music and storytelling. And it's also a launching point for people to go whale watching and iceberg viewing. You're going to be old pros at that, so you're not going to need to do that. But it is kind of exciting to explore some of the stunning coastlines of Newfoundland. And, you know, post-adventure, you can go directly to the airport, or you can spend a couple nights here and head home after. There is quite a few things to do here. There's the first transatlantic wireless signal received here in 1901. That's a historic site. The stroll through Jellybean Row, which I love. That's the picture you see here with all the colorful row houses. You could visit the rooms, the cultural center, that has a beautiful, beautiful views. And then the lighthouse, so the easternmost point of North America. And of course, the traditional Newfoundland dishes. My mom is actually going to Newfoundland next month, and I pulled up this slide for her today, and I was like, when you return your camper van and you just want to relax and spend some time in St. John's, these are the things that you should do. Okay, so I just wanted to review our Arctic groups for 25 and 26. So Greenland to Newfoundland is the one we just talked about. That's September 13th to 26th in 2026. That's aboard the Ocean Explorer. And we've got veranda staterooms and veranda suites and only 12 spots. So 12 people. Then we've got Northwest Passage, and that is in 2025. So that's this coming August. 2 dates available, one with limited availability and one with lots of space. And that's going to be on the Greg Mortimer. And you'll notice the ships that we use are the inverted X-bow for the polar regions for the most part, because they are very stable, very comfortable platform. And for that itinerary, we've got the balcony category A. And I just want to thank you guys. I have a few things here. I've included my email and phone number, so you can jot those down. I also included the Facebook page and our Instagram page for our polar platform. I'm going to be in Svalbard, Norway in June, and I'm going to be transmitting lots of live feed through that trip. So if you're not ready to embark on a trip and you just want to live vicariously through my polar adventures, please do follow that. Would love to share that with you. And I'm going to hand it over to Kelsey.
Sure. Well, thanks so much, Dana. I had such a fun time with a little armchair voyage this evening. I don't think I speak for just myself when I say some of the photos look photoshopped. They just look so spectacular. There's no way that's real. So I'm yeah, just delighted to be able to see some of those spots that some very lucky people will be going to see in real life soon. Um, and with that, it's time for questions. So I know that some people are joining us because they've either traveled with us before, know us through CNH Tours or Galapagos Travel, but this event is also on Meetup through our bucket list travel group. And I believe that Mark always also had it through different means. So if you have general questions, feel free to throw those out too about us or about what we do. But for now, I'll go through these. Feel free to type in the chat any questions you have. Um, for now, we have Jill, who's a lovely former guest of ours, or current guest perhaps as well. I do remember from Galapagos, I do all of our invoices. So if I recognize your name, it's possibly just for that. But Jill asks a little bit about the ship. So what are the rooms on the ship like? I'm assuming for the first one, but the Greg Mortimer too, if you'd like to speak about. And then Jill has a few other questions too. So Dana, did you want to just start a little bit about the ship's
Yeah,
cabins?
absolutely. Absolutely. I should have included a photo of the ship. So both those vessels, they're outside cabins. So they all either have windows or balconies. You can have either two single beds or a king bed. They are all have private bathroom facilities. They all usually have a little sitting area and then a desk and a chair, lots of storage. I know the Greg Mortimer is mostly all balconies. World Explorer, I think, is very, very similar. They all have the main dining room plus the quieter, smaller restaurant. Um, what was the other questions?
Yeah, no, that was it. So I'll just add that for those that are a bit more visual, we have lots on our website, cnhtours.com, and then at the top now we've got all of our destinations. So you can look through photos there, but also feel free to reach out to us and we can send some more photos of the cabins as well. And okay, so the next question, also from Jill. Can you give us an idea roughly? I guess it depends on the day, of course, but roughly how much time will be spent on board the ship and how much time is spent out exploring on the different excursions?
Yes, it changes every day. Ice conditions will play a part because if we're trying to get in somewhere and it's a bit too icy, we're going to navigate and go somewhere else. So our main goal is to get off the ship twice a day for 2 to 3 hours each time. Sometimes they're very extended. I find in the Greenland communities, you kind of feel like you're off the ship for the better part of the day because it's one longer landing.
Mhm.
So we'll have, a later lunch that day and navigate to somewhere else. So we always try for those two long landings per day.
Excellent. Alrighty. And thank you, Jill, for your comments about the photos and how fabulous Galapagos is. I agree. All right. So Judy and Gordon, who are joining us here as well, they're asking about how long the Northwest Passage trip is this summer, which I know roughly is about 2 weeks, but go ahead, Dana, with the details there.
Yes, that's a fantastic question. It's 16 days in total. It does include a pre-night hotel on both ends. So pre-night and then a post-night hotel. So if you're doing it, because you can do it starting in Toronto with a charter flight to Greenland, or you can start it in Calgary with a charter flight up to Cambridge Bay. So depending on which one you're on, it includes the pre-night hotel on either end. And I believe it's 13 or 14 nights on the ship.
Right. Excellent. Alrighty. And then Renee asks, how do you work with single travelers? So Dana, do you know a bit about that? Or I can fill in a little bit about that too, but go ahead.
Yeah. We love single travelers. So We'll have a willing to share option. So if you're willing to share with another single traveler, we can do that. If you want a cabin to yourself, we can arrange that. We can either swap it out for a solo cabin or pay a single supplement. Now, I find the rates vary depending on, what type of offer we have, but usually on a group departure, they're quite generous with giving us maybe a 2.5 or 25% solo supplement rather than a 50.
Right. Excellent. That was exactly what I was going to say too. Also, I think you mentioned about how lovely it is to just have moments to yourself on these trips, to just be very present and in the moment. And what I like to do is do little mental videos. I'm not very much a um I don't have any social media. I don't necessarily I love photos, but I also love to grab mental photos and videos and memories
Mhm.
just sitting peacefully on my own too. So yes, I agree with that. And we love the solo travelers. Alrighty, so back to Judy and Gordon. How much is part? I think they mean the prices, perhaps. Judy and
Ah,
Gordon, feel free to add your mic if you want. I can see you there, I believe,
No,
Judy. Yeah.
I don't know what I typed, but I meant to say how much of the trip we just saw is also a piece of the Northwest Passage trip.
Oh,
Which
okay,
any of
perfect.
those,
Yeah.
which of
yes,
those stops, if any,
Yep. Good
just the
question.
Greenland portion.
just Greenland. Okay.
Yeah.
So
You
the
will, on a Northwest Passage, you will make some stops on Baffin Island, but they will be on the east side of Baffin Island. They won't be in and around that southern end.
so not that beautiful park.
Baffin Island is beautiful, right to the northern tip. It is like I actually have a picture that a photographer took of myself. It's in a Canadian Arctic guidebook, and it's on the most northern part of Baffin Island. And again, the tundra in the fall. Yeah. And if you can land on Baffin Island anywhere, yeah, it's amazing.
But that national park to start with a T, that's not part of it.
Not part
Tor.
of it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Mm.
Thanks, Judy. Alrighty, back to Renee. They're asking about the payment plan. So it's a little different per trip, correct? Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead there, Dana. Yep.
Yeah,
I also
it'll
have the
be a
rough
little bit
details.
different.
Mhm.
With the Northwest Passage trip, it's a $2,500 deposit, and then the final is paid 90 days prior to departure. And then with the Greenland Labrador Torngat trip, it's a 25% deposit, and the final is paid 90 days prior.
There we go. Thanks. Perfect. All right. Martha has a question here, um, which I can also help answer. Do you provide a suggested packing list for the temperatures, but not too much to carry?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
Part
So
of packing, I would say one of the most important parts of any trip is preparing and packing, in my opinion.
exactly. And I
And
also
that's,
love this part too, because it's
yeah.
also looking to buy a few new things to travel with. So, definitely have a lot of experience packing efficiently for polar expeditions. Probably very different from Galapagos.
Only
And
if you're bringing down a whole ton of maple syrup for gifts. That's the only difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for a polar expedition, the ships that we use will provide you with a parka. So you don't have to worry about traveling with that heavy parka. They will also provide the boots, so the footwear. What you want to bring with you is good sturdy shoes for maybe walking around the villages in Greenland and for walking around the ship. So I always recommend like a waterproof sneaker, like a trail runner. And then you're just going to want to bring hats and mitts and warm layers for underneath your parka and some waterproof pants. And then the rest is up to you. You don't have to take anything fancy on these trips. You're not allowed to wear open toe shoes. You're not allowed to wear high heels. I will often go to dinner in my long underwear. So it's very casual and very comfortable.
Excellent. Yep, sounds very similar to Galapagos. You're not really allowed shoes on board. So yes, very similar.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's the type of trip we like. Yes, they're extreme trip of a lifetime type destinations, but definitely not white glove type service or don't expect that necessarily. Um, Alrighty, so I think for now, the last question, and feel free, everyone, if you want to type some more, back to Jill, just asking about the Aurora Borealis and if that's possible for
Mm,
the 2026 trip.
that is a great question. In September, near Baffin Island, I have seen Northern Lights before.
Mm,
So coming into September, we're getting more hours of darkness at night. It is very possible. When the time I saw them, it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I saw them from the ship. Um, if you've ever seen Northern Lights from a ship before, it's very incredible because they almost come right down to the water. So they kind of dance
wow.
and bounce off the water. There is a possibility. We do have specific Northern Lights trips as well. So if somebody is very interested in Northern Lights, I actually spent a winter managing an eco lodge that was specific to Northern Light travel. So if you're looking for Northern Light specific, I definitely have something for you. But if you're interested in this just being an additional highlight, it's possible.
Excellent. Excellent. Um, Oh, perfect. Thanks, Renee, for your comment as well, thanking us. Um, if there are any other questions, feel free to type in. I don't want to rush anyone, but there are no other questions there. So I'll just go back to repeat what Dana had said before, that um, contact information on our website, even just the general hello at CNH Tours, that comes to myself and to my colleague Heather, the co-owner of CNH Tours. So we're there to answer anything we can and pass you on to the experts. So Dana is there to help with any questions you might have. Oh, perfect, Renee. The website URL is just cnhtours.com. So you've got it there. We've got a contact us page. Like I mentioned at the beginning, we're also Galapagos Travel now. So if you're also interested in Galapagos, that's the spot to go to. But yeah, feel free to reach out any questions if you end up dreaming about this trip that the Vikings took 1,000 years ago, and you want to do the same, and you wake up at 2 a.m. thinking, oh, I wonder if. Feel free, write to us, reach out, and we'll be happy to answer questions that way via email. And like I said, we only offer these destinations because we are fully confident that we have experts on our team that are helping all of our guests. So Dana, of course, with her over a decade of experience on the ground and working with and on the ships, is going to be your right-hand woman, basically. So lucky you. And just thank you again so much for joining us this evening. We're delighted to have you here. Like I said, we hoped it was fun and enjoyable, not something you'd feel like is logging onto Zoom like you would at work. So I wish you all a lovely evening, and feel free to reach out anytime. We'd be delighted to have you travel with us. And Dana, thank you again so much for such a great presentation and so many beautiful images that now we can all go to sleep with. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll be
Thanks,
reaching
Kelsey.
out with the video recording of this as well. In case you want to watch it back or share it with friends, feel free. But other than that, thank you all so much, and we'll be in touch. Have a great
Have a great
evening,
night,
all.
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.